125. He is us. And, you should stand up and be counted.
Indeed we should, friends. Welcome in to this, the 125th edition of our show entitled He Is Us, which, in case you don't know, is based on the now famous quote from the Immortal comic strip series Pogo by Walt Kelley, where it is said, quote, "We have met the enemy, and he is us." I'm your Fusebox certified host, Mark Rose, and with the highly skilled and exceedingly competent assistance of our master of meters over there, truly over there, Milt Gaines. How are you, man?
Thank you kindly. Oh, we'll have a link to that strip too, right?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. We will indeed have a link to that strip in the show notes down there. So what we've decided to do on this program is dispense with the glass booth. I'm sitting in the control room here. And it's just going to make it a little more intimate, a little more immediate.
Kind of nice to be able to get the full benefit of a Studio 10, though, you know?
Yeah. It also allows for a little better interchange here, too. We're going to take a bit more of a serious tone with this edition of the show. I got to say, friends, there are times when you just can't ignore the 400-pound pangolin in the room. So I guess it was 5 years ago when I first started this show?
Yeah, it's almost 6 years now.
Yeah, almost 6. Yeah, actually, right. We'll be starting the 6th year of Fusebox, first of the year.
Seems like just a mere 60 months ago.
It does, doesn't it? Well, 5 or so years ago when first launching this program, my template for the show was basically to include quirky conversation, the occasional interview, feature some of our talented friends in bits and spoken word pieces, that sort of thing. And for the first year of our show, I think that was working just fine, don't you? Yeah. And frankly, I was really trying to avoid the crazy and oftentimes, really, seriously, horribly dull political crap, or many times the equally flaccid entertainment news junk. And then we had an election.
Yeah, there's just no way to not talk about that.
Yeah. There's no way to avoid that topic. And as much as I wanted to kind of stay out of the way of overly opinionated babble, you just could not avoid this issue.
Well, it just seems like we'd taken a giant step backwards.
Yeah, it was such a fundamental shift in our democracy, and I guess, seriously, a reawakening of what we thought, how silly, were dormant extremist viewpoints.
Well, if not dormant, at least napping loudly in the other room.
Yeah, right. However, that was not, and clearly is not now, the case in our present day.
Nope.
So, we all got to thinking about the tragic shootings in both El Paso and Dayton, where a gunman fired into a crowd of people in a shopping mall, killing 22 in the case of El Paso, Texas. And then, just 13 hours later, in a busy section of Dayton, Ohio, on a Saturday evening, ironically called the Oregon District. And as our show here, Fusebox, we emanate from Portland, Oregon. All in the course of just about 13 hours, we get another set of fatalities. We just thought we needed to air this thing out. Now, I don't know that we have any answers to this thing, but we can offer some insights.
Yeah, I'm not sure there is a single answer. Looks to me like it's going to take a whole bunch of things to patch up this mess.
Probably true. But I do know one thing. Anytime a cause of behavior is attempted to be linked to a thing like music or lyrics or video games or the color of your tie, it's a specious argument at best.
I don't know. Have you seen some of those ties out there?
Well, be that as it may, we thought we'd take a look at some recent events and just toss it around. And I invite you as well to jump in and in the comments section there, either on the Fusebox Facebook page or on the OnSug Facebook page or even the OnSug homepage where these shows are listed, wherever you have found this show, and just share your thoughts as well. Like I said at the top of the show here, we don't claim to have any answers, just observations, food for thought. So, yeah. So we're going to do a little show reset here, and when we come back, we're going to look at some of the kindling in this bonfire. Maestro.
It sort of became old-fashioned. It's called a nationalist. And I say, really, we're not supposed to use that word. You know what I am? I'm a nationalist, okay? I'm a nationalist.
Yeah, so here we have another N-word, nationalist.
You know, it is kind of funny how both N-words can light the fuse here.
Yeah. Well, at least in the case of this N-word, the term nationalist, on one side of the definition anyway, in quotes here, a patriot, someone who has a strong loyalty to a nationalistic cause or identity. However, it can also devolve into what we're seeing in our present day, a form of radical extremist ideology that, for the most part, just precludes and excludes anything other than the most fundamental in its definition.
Yeah, make America white again. You know, in both of these recent cases, the shooter has admitted to a white supremacist skew.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, one of those guys even posted a manifesto, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was posted on a social media site. I want to be clear because it wasn't the one that gets quoted all the time, which I won't even mention here. For one thing, it's already gone. But this thing was actually posted to Instagram. The site that was named frequently was indeed an area for some extreme viewpoints. I got to say, though, I think it was really curious that originally, before all the hate speech and all that junk, this site that's incorrectly named all the time was first used for discussions about anime, Japanese animation.
Well, there you go. Staring at all that tentacle porn will make you grab an automatic rifle and start shooting people.
Yeah, no. Look, in a widely circulated stat that many have seen, I'm sure, that kind of unequivocally states that the U.S. has had 251 mass shootings in as little as 216 days.
Man.
That means that's a tweak over one incident per day. Now, look, these are intentional homicides, by the way, not accidental incidents.
Yeah.
Mass shootings, right? So, also important to note, at present, there are about 5 million assault weapons registered in this country.
Yeah, that's more than the military has.
Exactly. And help me out here, okay? Why do we need military-grade weapons in the hands of civilians?
Yeah, well, they say it's to protect and defend against things like this last shooting.
Yeah, well, you know what, though? Let's just take a moment and look at this.
Yeah.
Now, El Paso, Texas, has what is referred to as an open carry law, meaning citizens can carry guns without a concealed weapons permit.
Yeah, I think the whole damn state of Texas has that.
Yeah, you're correct. That's right. The entire state has it. So just to play out the logic here, if that actually is the case, and we know it is,
yeah,
having these weapons accessible, meaning anybody can get them anytime, they got them on them even,
yeah,
it should have pointed to a much more rapid end to this gunman's reign of terror, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, that was not the case. A case in point, an off-duty military chap was interviewed shortly after the shootings, and he apparently was there in the middle of it. He said he heard the shots, and instantly his military training kicked in, and he reached for the weapon that he was carrying at the time and looked for cover. And then he saw some kids that had been separated from their parents, and then just bravely risked his own life to get as many of these kids out of harm's way as he could. And I got to say, bravo to that chap, by the way. Holy carp. I mean, he was, visibly shaken when he was being interviewed there, and his motivations were quite clear.
I don't think the average person has the degree of training to handle a crisis situation like that. Certainly not your family of 4 just out running errands.
Yeah.
Well, this takes a highly disciplined cat to get the drop on an active shooter.
Yeah. And I also got to say that the people of El Paso are amazing.
Yeah.
Not only because they responded without missing a beat to donate anything that was needed, but the fact too that this particular city, it's a border town. As a matter of fact, it was on that list, right? It's on the border of Juarez, Mexico. This is one of those alleged locations where the invasions are happening. The throngs of villainous immigrants are virtually pushing the very walls down to get in here. Tens of thousands.
Well, just the other day, I read that prior to 2016, that the issues with immigration were at a 50-year low. A 50-year low.
Yes, I know. And the city of El Paso is regarded as one of the safest cities in the U.S.
Yeah, you're right.
And I tell you what, you just take a look at the people there, which is, I got to say it again, it's inspiring to see these folks rally the way they did. And you just know that their behavior in a scenario like this is just the way they are. It wouldn't take a crisis to get the folks in that community to rally. That's just how they are by default. And to try to vilify or demonize, it's just insane. So on our prior point there, to suffice to say that access to weapons readily that's in itself is not an answer.
Yeah, the NRA just says that the answer to this whole mess is to give everybody guns. Well, maybe we should give the guns.
And hey, and by the way, I'm not one of those on the other side of the argument that thinks that all guns should be banned. At least in this country, it just seems completely unrealistic.
Seems to work in Australia.
Good point. Yeah, because I know there are tens of thousands of responsible gun owners out there and who get it, right?
Right.
We're not talking about them. As a matter of fact, most gun owners, particularly ones who hunt, they're not looking for AR-style firearms or multiple magazines. You know, I'm saying that military-grade weaponry of any kind needs to be controlled a whole lot better.
Well, if the Senate, and we mean you, Mitch, and your NRA cronies,
right,
will get off their asses and pass H.R. 8,
right,
which requires mandatory background checks for everybody before buying a firearm, well, we'd at least start on the road to controlling something.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Mitch took $1.6 million from the NRA in the past. So he may be a tad beholding to them, just saying. And I also think I'm right in saying that there are and is and probably will be now even more bipartisan support on this issue for sure.
Well, some of the more progressive folks in the GOP might be on board, but I don't know how many.
Well, yeah.
This gun lobby thing is fucking ridiculous. How many folks and kids need to get shot down before these knuckle-dragging miscreants get a clue?
Did you just say miscreant?
Yeah, I think I got that one from you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
No, but seriously, though, dollars are quite clearly more important to these folks than lives, evidently.
Oh, and by the way, the silence is damn deafening from our fearless leader. I mean, it was, 48 hours before we heard a peep out of Trump?
Well, he did tweet.
You know what? I saw that address he did on the Monday following. And that was without a doubt the worst attempt at giving a shit I have ever seen. This guy looked like he'd been pulled away from a golf game and made to read somebody's grocery list. And then he gets the city wrong. He called it Toledo.
You know, and I'm wondering if that wasn't some sort of sabotage from within.
Yeah, well, you know what? That would have been my plan.
Oh, man, I tell you, if he was an actor, I would never have hired him. That's all I'm saying. Well, in fact, he was attending his golf club, Mr. Cain's, and while the first shooting was being reported on, he was making an apparently unscheduled public appearance at a wedding that was happening there at the club for someone he didn't actually know, I'm told.
What the
Now, it's easy. It is going to be very, very simple to dump the whole shooting thing in the orange guy's lap here.
Well, he's got a big lap.
So we're told. But in truth, there is something else I want us to consider that's going on here, friends. Hence the title of this episode of our humble program. We need to take a very sobering and visceral look at not only this last series of events, but an overarching issue that I think anyway has to do with human behavior for a very, very, very long time. Intolerance. Yeah. This inability to totally absorb diversity in any form. That's been going on since, as the Firesign Theater would say, since before the beginning. We actually need to take a look at what the programming is that causes this rage and intolerance to ignite in the first place. Where is it lurking?
Well, one thing for sure is that it's passed on from generation to generation, clearly.
Yeah.
These last three guys were 20-somethings, and they were all white, by the way.
Yeah. And I think it's also true that with each generation, numbers dwindle.
I sure hope so, man. But what seems to be happening is that they're all getting even more vocal now. They've been given permission to be loud and proud.
Right.
Did you know that, not to go back to Adolf Trump here again,
Right.
but in every city that has sponsored a Trump rally, hate crimes have gone up 226%.
Holy carp. Well, he just sort of put gas on the flame, didn't he?
Yeah, and this base we keep hearing about, this is a substantial and, let me just say, scary as hell percentage. Like 31% of registered voters who think that these are all good and positive signs that we're moving to a better America.
Yeah.
Where the damn red cap is the new white hood.
Nice. By the way, at least in the case of El Paso, the rally he had there back in February,
Yeah.
well, he still owes the city of El Paso $569,000 for that event, which also includes late fees. No, this truly is a crossroads for sure. And as much as I believe that the gun control measures, the mental health issues, the GOP issues are all inextricably linked to the final solutions, we still need to take a really close look at our own programming and come to terms with this intolerance thing. If we don't do that, all the other remedies will be just Band-Aids, and the real cause will just continue to fester.
It's gonna be a real job, man. I mean, how the hell do you...
I know. But if we really, really want to fix this thing, it's a human development issue. It really is. It's going to be the big work.
Yeah.
Granted, some folks are not going to be willing or able even to take this particular course of action because it requires that you are awake and conscious of your own behavior and that you flag, these tendencies when they come up.
For sure.
I mean, as kids, we really have, especially in the early days, we really have no context for differences in someone else. It isn't until we're either programmed by our peers or by our parents to notice differences.
Yeah.
And then we place a negative or positive value on them depending upon how we're instructed or programmed, that we get to this situation. And look, I know this is a hard situation for many to grasp. I get it. You're gonna, but you need to look only at the planet as a whole, and you'll see this issue. It's not just here. You'll see polarization in religions, in races, hell, in car choices.
Chevy and Ford, man.
Yeah. Silly as that seems, right. The idea that someone's preference has to become a mandate is one critical component there. Rather than just embracing the fact that people will like or be or believe different things, and that's okay. It's not only okay, it's necessary.
I hear you. I'd say, too, that right now, if you don't stand up and say that not only is the emperor naked, he's a goddamn liar, too, that you're a part of the problem and not part of the solution at all.
Yeah. Say something.
I just can't help asking this, and I know it's kind of off course here, but back to the shooters for a second.
Yeah.
Who are these people? Oh, I mean, we know the media profile, but seriously, who are they? How does this one guy drive 10 hours, that's 600 miles away from El Paso. He lives in some place called, Allen, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, he buys this type of hardware, which, by the way, this guy's shit had to be modified by someone with some chops to be used in the form factor that he had. So just like that guy in Vegas who opened up on that music festival a while back, that guy had a fucking armory in his hotel room. How does that happen?
Well, that's a great question. I know a lot of these firearms are purchased online, but apart from the guy in El Paso, most of these shooters, they appear to be on a one-way ride. They're either killed by law enforcement, right? Or they do themselves in, which has always bothered me. You know, some small percentage, perhaps, may see themselves as martyrs for the cause, but not all of them.
I'm not sure some of them could spell martyr.
I'd love to get follow-up stories on these shooters. And I know there's a philosophy out there that says we shouldn't give them any time or attention or whatever. That's an interesting and convenient fact. But something is very loose about what happens after the media barrage, and the coverage. Then a few months go by and there's no further word on who the cat was, what his motivation was.
Or who he was connected to. I mean,
right.
The whole white supremacist thing is a given in most cases. We kind of know where the trail leads.
Yeah. The White House?
No. Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. Some of those cats are doing nothing to hide their intentions, man.
Right.
I'm just wondering about the others. Who's funding these cats?
Hard to say.
Easy to ask.
I really don't know, but you got to believe somebody knows. But will we ever get to hear about that? I don't know. Well, friends, as I said, I don't know we have the answer to this current blight on humanity, but we can certainly speculate as anyone and offer up some suggestions. But above all, let's not be silent on this thing or become numb, because that's the other problem that happens in these situations. When they become as frequent as this, it's almost like they desensitize us to the immediacy. Because one would think that the shooting of kids in a schoolyard would be quite enough, thank you. But clearly the eyes are blinded by green.
Yeah.
Somewhere up in the food chain, and refuse to budge on this thing.
Well, that's where the public comes in. And if you don't think your voice matters, just take a gander at the folks in Puerto Rico.
Yes, good point.
They said, hell no, you gotta go to a rotten governor, and he got up and went.
Yes, and they went through 3 governors in 1 week.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I know, sometimes it seems impossible to change things. But as you just brought out, it's clearly about tenacity and staying with it in numbers.
Now, you know what? I think we got the numbers on this one.
I concur, Mr. Keynes. And with that, friends, we shall take our leave. But first, I want to thank my able-bodied cohort here, Milt Keynes, for... it's nice to be in the same room with you, man.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure, amigo. Yeah, this is kind of fun. I think we should do this again when the world isn't mourning the loss of dozens of innocent folks just trying to do some shopping and have a beer.
I second that one. And thanks as well to you, friends, for pushing play on this edition of Fusebox. I know we took a slight turn in format, but as I say, sometimes, as has been the case frequently here of late, we have a moral obligation to speak up and not go silent on some of the more egregious things that spring up in our daily lives here. So a shout out to the fine folks in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio, and lest we forget, Gilroy, California, as well as they were the victims of a crazed gunman where 3 folks lost their lives in just a matter of days before these most recent events. I've been your host, Mark Rose, and please keep doing all the fine stuff you do, and we will be back with you all subsequently.
Later.
Fuse.